interested in that now. I wish to do it from scratch so that you can actually see how it is done. So we can have standard partitions, we can have Linux Volume Manager, and some other things as well, but I'm just going to go ahead and select standard partitioning for this. I could actually even select an LVM, and the first partition that we need to configure is root. Your system files will be located there. So I need to desired capacity, let's say 20 gigs, so 20 GB. Add mount point. Excellent, it is created now. I can encrypt it if I wish. Yeah, you can create volume groups as well, because Linux generally, if you have a bunch of disks running under Linux, it just sees them, it can actually see them as a single hard drive. So it treats, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 disks as a single hard drive, no problems. You get that with the default installations of Linux, which is very nice. And if you go back to the root directory in Linux, you will always go back to root, while going back to the root directory on Windows usually means going selecting a disk where it is installed, like C or something like that, and then going there. If this is unclear to you now, I don't want you to worry about it at all. As we move in deeper and deeper, when I give you clear examples of this, you will understand it far better. Anyway, we have created the root partition, and now we need to create a, well, we need to create a boot partition for our Red Hat. So add mount, no, wait. Okay, so it gave it the automatic size of 81 gigabytes because I haven't assigned any size to it, which is a bit funny. So let's just go ahead and delete that, and let's create it again. So boot, let's say, I don't know, you can probably get away with 100 megs, but I'm just gonna say 500 megs to be certain, because I don't know, I guess I'm a cautious guy and I have a lot of space here. Literally, I can have like more space than I will probably ever need on this laptop. Anyway, so boot, root, and now we need home. So home is not, I mean, I don't think you shouldn't get any errors, but you should definitely create a home partition. So 80, and yeah, sure, why not? 80 GB. Pretty sure it's not gonna need a space there. Excellent. Also, you will notice that it doesn't actually obey me to the fullest of extents. It creates a, I've told it 80, and it has created 74.51. Anyway, that's just how it works. So I have a bit of available space left here, and I figured, why not? Let's create a swap partition. So swap, actually, you don't need to create it. I think I mentioned this, but it's not a bad idea to have it. You're not gonna get an error message, but you're gonna get a warning message, let's put it so. Anyway, I didn't put in any size parameters, so it just took pretty much all that it could take. There's like 1 megabyte that's gonna be left there. I suppose you can try tweaking and being extremely precise and trying to extract this 1 megabyte, but honestly, why bother? Anyway, you can put in a label here, you can name it any way you like as well. Add no problems there. Swap will only act as a, usually you put it twice the size of RAM, but I mean on modern systems you don't really need it, primarily because you're not going to run out of RAM generally, but you might, and then your system actually starts using your portion of your hard drive as it would use RAM. It's a really slow procedure. The method is terrible, but hey, it saves the day when all is taken into consideration. Anyway, I'm just gonna click here. I got home, boot, root, swap. I'm gonna say done. And here I get a summary of changes. I get a type and what's gonna be destroyed, what's gonna be created. Just have a look at this and make sure none of these disks are reserved for your Windows. So you can see by SDB, if any of them was SDA, cancel this immediately, but no, they're all SDB. Excellent. So it's the second physical hard drive. They're usually SDB, SDA, I think the next one should be SDC, and so on and so forth, depending on how many you have. So here it says what's going to be created, what's going to be destroyed, what's going to be formatted, etc. So let's just go ahead and click on accept changes. And there you go, custom partitioning selected, all is ready, and the installation may actually begin. So you just click on begin installation. I didn't connect it to the network, but doesn't really matter. We can do all the updates and all the things later on that we actually want, since we will need to install some software and perform the updates as well. Anyway, I shall leave you here, and later on I'll just show you that how the system boots, and what is the difference between how do you actually select to boot into Windows, and how do you actually select to boot into Red Hat. Anyway, until then, I bid you farewell. Welcome back, everybody. Now I'm just going to go ahead and show you that the installation did actually go through as planned. So here's the machine, and now I'm just going to click on reboot. This is going to take a bit of time. I will later on to the machine that we're going to be using as our main operating system, as our Red Hat virtualized environment, I will assign far more resources there. I'll even assign more CPU cores and more RAM so that it works faster. But for the time being, let's just see how this works in a bit of a slower mode. So you might have noticed that even though I've clicked reboot at the end of the Red Hat installation, I am booting now into Windows 8.1. And you might think this to be an error or something of a kind, but I assure you it is not. Everything is working as it should be working. Just type in test. Or wait for it. Okay, now Windows is notorious for only seeing the partition of NTFS and exFAT, but let's just give it a shot anyway to see if we can actually see the Red Hat partitions there. So type in disk management. Thank you very much. And then I'll restart the computer and show you that you can indeed boot into Red Hat without any bigger problems, but you need to click a button in time. Okay, so it does see VirtualBox Edition. Okay, so CD disk 1. Okay, yep, there we go. So disk 0 and disk 1, they are the same size, and it just recognizes these partitions as healthy primary partitions, nothing more. It even sees only 2, which is kind of weird, but okay. Anyway, don't pay that much attention to disk 0, primarily because I've done so many wrong things to it. Up to this point of time, I'm actually even surprised that it's working properly. What I want to show you here is the disk 0 and how is it working. Anyway, if you need to free up some space here in the disk management, while I'm here, I might as well show you. You can actually shrink these volumes. You shouldn't mess around with these that are not Windows partitions. You should only mess around with Windows partitions in Windows. In Linux, you can mess around with pretty much anything. But let's just right click on it, and there's a delete volume, shrink volume. Okay. So you can right click and shrink it. Squaring volume for available shrink space. Anytime now, my good man, anytime. I don't know, I've already shrank it, so to say, something here, and I've partitioned it. And here, excellent. So here it says shrink volume C, size available to shrink in megabytes is actually 0 because it can't get any smaller. And the amount of space to shrink in megabytes you would just put in here. Once that is done, you just read the total size in megabytes after shrink and click shrink. There you go. You can only shrink them from left to right. You cannot shrink them from right to left. So one thing to keep in mind. Anyway, while I was here, I figured I might as well show you that, although not particularly relevant for the course, but a bit of extra information is always in handy. Anyway, I just want to show you that these two partitions